Hey DS, you're Red, right?
An oddly specific question, but yes I am. Why do you ask?
Because this guy named ZachGoesRed did a video on Shari 5.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you cover him recently?
Yes I did, and credit where it's due, his points have gone beyond informing me that Shari is saying things that are on the screen as if that's an actual point. However, his arguments are now fucking terrible no matter which way you slice it. Like, at least Shari actually was pointing things out on the screen. You have to give him that.
Considering he's wanted me to cover a video on him for some reason, I see this as killing two birds with one stone. 3 if you want to count part of our group. So, you want to commentate on it?
Yes I do.
Okay, before we begin, I would just like to say that Tony Sonic will not be planning to tackle any of the Pokemon games or even Shari 5's videos anytime soon. So he gave me permission to do them for him. So I'm not really sure if anything is gonna work out well. And I also don't think that Bendy and the Ink Machine remake won't be out early of January 2023 because there's a lot of life problems with me right now. And there's just so much things that I have to tackle on right now because, you know, life stuff and things, video ideas and all that stuff. But yeah, that's just my point.
So, you're taking the same approach as Tony Sonic. I'd be annoyed, but that's the least of this video's problems, believe it or not.
Also, is it just me, or do his visuals remind anyone else of what you'd get if you put a CD into a DVD player? I should also note that ZachGoesRed here loves to talk as slowly as possible, and both pauses and stumbles over his words constantly, making this one of the most annoying videos I have ever had the displeasure of covering. Zach, I beg you, edit your audio and do retakes. Trust me, it will help. Regarding your disclaimer, first off, I see you still haven't learned how to spell Shari 5 in the time between my last commentary on you and now. Shari has 2 R's in it, not 1. This is a mistake repeated throughout the entire video, by the way, which leads to some especially humorous moments when we see him counting Shari 5s with 1 R sins on top of the screen, despite seeing Shari with 2 R's name on the screen at the same point of the video. For that matter, I have no idea what a controversy is, although I assume it's related to the concept of a controversy. Oh, also, sentences end with periods, not ellipses, and if that is supposed to be an ellipses, you're supposed to put a space between each period. Also, the sentence structure here is just horrible. There should be either a comma or a period after the word content, and the "and" should be cut, with "I don't want to start any controversy" being its own sentence. Also, it should be "with this video," not "for this video."
F-.
Ah yes, my favorite video. Everything wrong with Pokemon Generation 1, Feet RoboZach, Shari 5, you.
Oh no. He's using the robot voice. And considering the fact what happened in my first commentary video, that's already a alarm for concern. I understand this is a collab video, and I know I'm not one to talk because I did it myself, but A, that was my first video, so I at least have an excuse for that, whereas you've used your normal voice, and B, you don't actually do anything to distinguish yourself between the 2 characters, which is even worse.
Also, fuck that music is loud. Like, way louder than anything we've heard up until this point.
I don't know what move that Nidorino thinks it's doing. It most likely isn't going to affect Gengar, considering it's a ghost type that isn't affected by physical attacks.
It's probably using a move, I don't know, maybe called Bite?
Thank you for putting the name of the move on screen for no reason.
It turns out Shari is right, because the Dark type moves, or even Dark type itself, weren't even included in this generation, but was included in other generations. So leave Chari with no sin.
While you do acknowledge that he's right, I just want to point out that you wasted essentially a minute explaining this, that it should have been left out of the script entirely. Now, if you wanted to actually point out a real sin, Charlie was actually wrong about the fact that ghosts can't be harmed by physical moves. Technically, they can be harmed by physical moves. They can't be harmed by normal or fighting type moves.
That's Nidorino's cry, not Nidorino's.
Hey look, who cares?
But nitpicks are automatically bad, oh no!
Ignoring the fact you blatantly stole his bid from Tony Sonic.
Look, it's bounced the level.
Hey look, who cares?
Ephraim, you want to explain this?
Gladly. It doesn't matter if nobody cares, it's still something wrong with the game, and therefore something that should be pointed out in a video that goes over everything wrong with it. If you think nitpicking is an issue, that's a problem with the format, not Shari specifically.
For some people, Pokemon are pets. Others use them for fights. Myself, I study Pokemon as a profession.
You know, I've never thought about this, but how do the professors make any money? Are they funded by an institution to study Pokemon? They can't be self-employed. They don't have customers or clients, so how are they able to fund their profession?
Like you said, they were paid by an institution to study Pokemon.
No. He asked who was funding them. And even disregarding that, you don't show any evidence to back this claim up. Now, granted, neither does he, but I trust Charlie far more than I trust you. And considering your other videos, yeah, I don't think I need to explain why that's the case.
Not only that, but Shari brought it up as one possibility while making a larger point about how it's not explained in game. You assume this hypothetical is true based on, best as I can tell, literally nothing.
This is my grandson. He's been your rival since you were a baby. What is his name again?
Bro, he's your grandson. I don't think the senile old man should be handing out elemental monsters to 10-year-olds.
The age of 10 is required to get these little monsters. Plus, even though the name is gameplay-wise, not story-wise.
Well, you are correct about the age. That wasn't even the real point of the sin. It was the fact his grandfather didn't remember his own grandson's name. Now, granted, game-wise, yes, it makes sense, but it's still a flaw of the game. And the anime barely follows its own rules most of the time, so using that as an argument doesn't exactly mesh well.
Also, I have no idea what the name is gameplay-wise, not story-wise, even means, and I'm too scared to make any attempt to figure it out.
This is some incredible technology to be able to store physical items in a digital datascape and recall them whenever you'd like. But how? Is it like stored on your own computer? You upload it to the cloud? How does the data get called to become physical mass again?
That item gets stored into a cloud and transformed back into a physical item. Even though it's not really true, it is shown in the anime lore.
Okay, one, you're using the movie, which didn't come out until much later.
2 years later, to be exact. Pokemon Generation 1 came out in 1996, while Pokemon the first movie came out in 1998.
Explain away something that wasn't in the game. Two, even if it came out at the same time, the game itself doesn't explain it. And before you use the "it's old but limited" argument, it doesn't exactly disprove the point being made here. By that logic, nobody would be able to critique old games, and a lot of your own videos in that turn would be kind of rendered moot. And lastly, you literally acknowledged that it can't be true. So, which is it? It can't be true and untrue in the same line.
For that matter, where in the anime in the first movie is this shown? Are you going to show us the scenes? Are you going to at least tell us what these scenes are so we can find them ourselves without having to watch the entire anime or the first movie? As the presenter, you're supposed to be giving us any and all important details, which you failed to do in this interjection. And that's not even getting into the fact that the first movie has some inconsistencies from both the games and the franchise as a whole.
Also, there's this truly hilarious scene where Ash somehow manages to beat a golem with Pikachu. How is this significant? Because electric attacks don't work against ground types. There's a reason the fan nickname for this beast is Godchew.
Fuck, while on the topic of the review I'm clipping, Cartoon Hero also makes note that psychic powers work completely different in the anime compared to the video games.
Oh, and I should point out that one thing between the games and the anime is radically different. In the Pokemon games, psychic powers are just another form of attack energy. In the anime and in this movie, however, psychic powers are treated like more traditional psychic powers are. Telekinesis, psychic shields, mind blasts, that kind of thing.
Also, if the first movie is canon, then so are the Magic Pikachu tears, and I don't think I can mentally handle that.
Now, why'd you have to remind me of that scene? Even when I was a massive Pokemon fan, that was cringe.
Some things are best left forgotten.
There's a movie on TV. 4 boys are walking on railroad tracks. 1986's Stand By Me is a movie in the Pokemon universe? But why? Like, nothing against it, I'm just wondering if that means that other real-world movies exist in this world too. Does Stephen King exist in this world? Does the song the movie gets its title from exist? What other real-world music exists in the Pokemon world? Was Post Malone canon to Pokemon? Wow, in 26 years of playing Pokemon and the almost 8 years of making these videos, never would I have thought I would utter the phrase, was Post Malone canon to Pokemon.
Even though I kind of didn't absorb that information, I'm just gonna kind of say, yeah, maybe Stand By Me's playing on the TV. But Charlie makes 2 pop culture references that aren't Sims of the Game cliche. I don't even know why he even made the Post Malone one.
First off, ow, my fucking ears! Second, these are questions. And third, you don't even acknowledge the question and just say it's a pop culture reference, even though it's kinda how the format works.
Also, the sin is that Pokemon is needlessly referencing something from the real world, therefore creating questions about what from our world is real and what isn't. For that matter, he brought up Post Malone just as a random example of somebody from our world.
Right. All boys leave home someday. It said so on TV.
Really? It said so on TV. Well, the TV also told us that Beanie Babies were worth millions of dollars, that the internet was a fad, and that if I called 951-262-3062, I could talk to Santa. So maybe you shouldn't be getting parenting advice from Rob Reiner's Stand By Me, Mom.
Those 3 statements you made were real-life hoaxes, not the ones in the game. And plus, most people in the Pokemon world believe things on TV, but most of us in real life don't.
Using real-world logic and game logic in the same sentence. There's just so much wrong with that, I don't even know where to start. But to make it somewhat brief, so it's somehow okay to just believe anything that's said because it's on TV, and because it's a video game. So let's say a kidnapper or even Team Rocket broadcasted something and she believed it. Would that mean she's in the right? Look, we're not even 5 minutes in and this video is giving me a migraine. Something not even Tony Sonic's been able to achieve, which is surprising to say the least.
Okay, so I can understand the logic of the game here, especially for kids who are more willing to explore in games, but to my knowledge, there's not a single indication that I ever have to go to the Pokemart in Viridian City. Oak doesn't tell me to pick up a parcel for him, I just have to wander in there myself.
This game was made for kids to explore and try to find their own path. And plus, even in the Fire Red version, Oak tells you where to go, though. Yes, but this is literally the first game of the first generation, so kids would most likely play this one first. You're right.
As someone who's actually played a shit ton of RPGs, I can tell you for a fact that really doesn't excuse it. Yes, kids do explore. I'm not gonna deny that. But there still needs to be some sort of clear indication of where to go. Even bad RPG games still give you some form of direction as to where to go, because without that, kids can be confused and stuck. And let's remind ourselves, kids don't have the best attention spans.
I'm going to go one step farther than my co-op partner and say that kids don't love to explore, or at least their desire to explore is highly affected by how engaging the game is. If it really was as simple as kids love to explore and that therefore justifies not engaging in even the most basic, to use a term I stole from Egoraptor, conveyance.
The term used a lot for this concept is conveyance. And I think that's a fitting name. I mean, haven't you ever been playing a game and you're just like, what do I do? Where do I go? That's what I'm talking about. That's bad conveyance.
Then games like Milon's Secret Castle and Super Pitfall would be classics on the NES and not games most people only know about because of the AVGN.
Also, you acknowledge the fact Fire Red fixed this, but that has absolutely nothing to do with the first game, and barring that, what the hell makes you think this is the first Pokemon games kids play? Yes, I played it back then as a kid, and that was my first Pokemon game, but that doesn't mean every kid has, and even if that wasn't the case, that doesn't negate the point being confusing to some.
These back and forths are also just getting really fucking annoying. They aren't used to expand on points, they're just filler. I honestly thought I'd never find a worse self-co-op dynamic than Carmen Rider, but here we are. To be frank, at this point I'd find this dynamic better if the video suddenly stopped so one of you could laugh at the other saying Doodle Tone's tone.
Hey, but from Doodle Tone's tone... What's so funny? Doodle Tone's tone.
Okay, I guess I should go into a bit more detail regarding why this self-co-op is so bad and the mistake it makes that every other bad self-co-op makes. You see, when you aren't bouncing off actual people, the major thing you need to do is give me something that separates each of the characters involved. In my opinion, the best example of this is Doodle's first commentary on Joshua. where Doodle plays the role of the actual commentator, Hand is a salesman, and Cancer the Weeaboo has a broken microphone and talks about how much she loves anime while occasionally saying bluntly absurd things.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joshua Colbyhouse, aka Joshua8428, a commentator from 2010 who was a huge bandwagon due to his lack of showing the video he was commentating on, his arguments, his lispy voice, lack of paying attention, and had a knack for bringing religion into all of his commentaries.
So, he'll be American?
I guess?
Because he has a screenshot, so therefore he's more right than you.
Look, are you gonna contribute anything?
And you missed the point.
Is it a circle?
What? No.
Well, what if the parent doesn't fail and the kid grows up never watching Ed, Edd, and Eddy?
They wouldn't be missing much. You Americans need to watch some real anime.
That's not the point. The point is that you can use that kind of hypothetical for any and every situation. It doesn't really make MacBoy's statement wrong, it just brings up a hypothetical for the sake of selling a narrative.
And that's my job. You too can get a narrative for only $14.95 plus tax and shipping and handling. Available at boonslayer.spreadshirt.com.
Compare that to Zach and Zach with a voice filter on. What separates these two characters? Would anybody notice if I gave the dialogue to one to the other? Well, no, because there's just nothing there. I get not everyone can create fully fleshed out three-dimensional characters, especially on their first attempt, but come on, dude, you can do better than this. I just know it.
Gramps! What did you call me for?
How did Oak manage to call Blue? Assuming Blue was going as fast as I was, and assuming he wasn't stopped by the old man in Viridian City, he would at least be in the middle of the Viridian Forest by now. Do we have phones? Did Oak send an aide? How did the aide catch up so quickly?
I'm guessing Blue might have took a shortcut to get to the lab. That either the aide ran to Blue while he was in Viridian Forest.
1, where's your proof? And 2, and probably the more important part here, there are only 2 ways back, and both of us have the ability to take it, right? Unless you're telling me there's a path we somehow couldn't take, and you don't show that. Also, we don't see them during that, so it makes even less sense.
Red, I hate to say it, but I don't need you. I know, I'll borrow a town map from my sis. I'll tell her not to lend you one, Red.
Damn, it feels so good to be a gangster.
You were saying?
Wow, okay. I'm gonna be generous and ignore the fact you're saying was clearly a joke and go into the fact that you're using a remake to explain sin and not the original game itself. I'd be more forgiving of this if it wasn't for the fact that you chose to twist context here, because what the hell?
Even then, this doesn't debunk Shari's point, as his sin was based around the fact that you could get the map in the first place. Like, what is this even trying to prove? What even is your point exactly? I haven't been this confused in a long fucking time.
I've had my coffee now and I feel great. Sure you can go through. Are you in a hurry? I see you're using a Pokedex. Wait, how does the old man know what a Pokedex is? Didn't Professor Oak invent them? I figured that only my rival and I had them so we could fulfill Oak's request. Is the game implying that Pokedexes are available to the masses? Because if so, why is he asking us to undertake gathering data on every single Pokemon? We've literally just begun our Pokemon journey. Also, we're 10 years old!
Well, as it turns out through Professor Oak's dialogue, that Pokedexes actually were invented a long time ago ever since he was 10 years old as well. So, yeah, Pokedexes have been around ever since almost the first time in Pokemon history.
I'm going to assume the source in question is Pokemon Arceus.
Which didn't come out until 26 years after Pokemon Red, by the way, meaning even giving you the benefit of the doubt that this does answer your question, Game Freak didn't answer this until slightly more than a quarter century after the game Shari is reviewing right now. And again, that's giving you, or, well, okay, more my co-op partner, but my point still stands, the benefit of the doubt in assuming that's true, given you don't tell us where you got this impression.
Which I have yet to play, but even if that is the case, you don't present any proof of this, nor do you state where you got this information from. Yes, you're technically correct, but that also ignores the fact Oak is setting 2 kids, 10-year-old kids, might I add, to do something when there are plenty of adults in the world who can do it. Also, this is just a nitpick, but he's covering red, blue, and yellow. I only bring this up because you only list this as Pokemon Red when there's all 3.
Oh, Toro shit! You're telling me a level 5 Weedle at full health wouldn't break out of the Pokeball at least once? Also, why the hell do you have 50 fucking Pokeballs? In the Japanese version, you're a drunk who won't get out of the way until you've sobered up. Did you buy them all in a drunken stupor? And in the Western version, you're a petty asshole who blocks our way until you've had your morning coffee. I don't know which one's worse.
Well, according to research, it turns out some Pokemon with a lower level, even at full health, can sometimes be captured. And the Japanese version is worse because he's a drunk person that literally won't get up until he's softened up. So, yeah, but why is that a sin of the game, actually?
What research? Where did you get said research? I don't see it in the video, it's not in the description, it's not in the comment section, and considering the fact this is you we're talking about here, I refuse to take your word at face value. But even if I let that slide, you also have to realize Pokemon can break out, something you conveniently omitted from this conversation.
For the record, I found an algorithm from the website shinyhunter.club that tells you what chance you Pokemon under conditions. The chance of a level 5 Weedle with all of its health and no status effects being caught by a trainer with no Pokemon is roughly 44%. This means it is more likely than not that the Weedle would break out of its Pokeball under this situation. This was also the same result I got when I looked at a calculator created by DragonflyCave.com, which was specifically designed for Generation 1.
Also, was the voicing part really necessary?
Regarding the text, you seem to be under the impression that Shari is saying the fact the old man was drunk and not that he somehow managed to catch a Weedle that he shouldn't have been able to on his first try, or that he has 50 Pokeballs for no reason.
If you have the right stuff, go take on Brock!
Wait, where did he go? There's no way out from here.
He jumped over the fence.
No, he didn't. By that logic, you could also do that. You are aware you could jump over ledges in this very game, right? Like, did you even bother to proof check this video beforehand? Then again, concerning the rest of this video, I think I just answered my own question.
Have the right stuff, go take on Brock!
I'm not supposed to be able to do that.
Okay, what's with you explaining glitches? If a glitch occurs in gameplay normally, then it's a sin of the game. But if it doesn't, and if you're exploiting it yourself, then it's not a sin of the game. Again, why make this a sin of the game if you did it?
I don't know what it is with both you and Tony Sonic making this rule and why it's a problem, but again, if it can be performed, it's a glitch. By that logic, 06 is a masterpiece.
Rock launch!
The issue at hand is that the glitch exists in the first place. Glitches are programming errors. By definition, that's just what glitches are. It doesn't matter if there's something you do on purpose, like going into subspace to get a second POW block.
There's that classic trick where you go in that little dark world, you pick one up, and wait for time to run out. And now, you have twice the POW.
Or if there's something that only happens because the game is acting weird, like platforms that are supposed to be there just not doing so.
Under normal circumstances, I should have been able to see the giant pieces that fly out from the robot's body and been able to use them as platforms. But the glitch gremlin was playing dirty that night. He knew I made it far and that there was no continue code for this late in the game. This was my first time trying to beat Mega Man 5. So imagine my confusion when I kept getting struck by invisible objects. The platforms were invisible, but they appeared to be stationary on the robot. Just an illusion, graphical dummies meant to fool me and sabotage my entire night's effort.
Either way, they're all programming errors, therefore they are something wrong with the game.
So why are we fighting? I thought you just wanted to tell me about your favorite article of clothing.
He will after you battle.
Kinda weird to bring that the fuck out of nowhere.
Hi, this is the F Ramentator and editing here to tell you all, man, I love having this hat on.
But moving away from that, as explained in the next scene, it doesn't answer why he's fighting him. There are plenty of NPCs who don't fight and just talk about things too, so it's kinda just jarring to fight over this.
Hey, stop! I found these fossils! They're both mine!
You can have both of them if you want. I was just passing through. I didn't ask for this.
You know what they say in Pokemon.
You know what they say, the more the merrier. You know what they say, the more the merrier. You know what they say.
If you ever cross eyes with another person, you gotta battle. And plus, even though, yeah, you didn't really ask for it, it is mandatory.
you are aware consent is a thing, right? And even barring that, the dude just assumed something and forced him into a fight with no say in the matter.
Hey, guess what? I went to Bill's and got him to show me his rare Pokemon. That added a lot of pages to my Pokedex. After all, Bill's world famous as a Pokemaniac. He invented the Pokemon storage system on PC. Since you're using his system, go thank him.
Bro, I have one Pokemon. What the fuck are you talking about? Seriously, no one tells you about the PC and how it works unless you talk to the optional NPCs, and by itself, that's fine, but if you're just going through the story and not catching many Pokemon, this comes out of nowhere.
I mean, the game is still encouraging kids to explore, but even though it's actually kind of story-wise in the game and not really in the anime, but basically, if you actually catch 6 Pokemon, and if you catch like a 7th one, it will get stored into a PC that the game will notify you about. But you won't really know until you at least talk to the NPCs in the Pokemon Center.
So, I guess solo runs just don't exist. Sorry, my dry bread, J-Rose, but apparently you've been playing the game the wrong the entire time.
Never mind how part of the appeal of Pokemon is supposed to be that there's no wrong way to play, hence why you can beat the game with a series of diverse teams and moves.
But in all seriousness, not everyone's gonna play like this. Yes, it's incentivized to do so, but it's not mandatory. Plus, again, it's never really stated until it happens, and at this point in the game, it's very possible, so it does kind of come out of nowhere.
For that matter, the issue Shari has is that the rival, and therefore the game, just assumes you have caught 7 or more Pokemon by this point, even though that's not actually the case, at least in his case. You pointing out that this is discouraged by the game, or that this is usually not the case, would not change that point, because Shari's issue is that this is something the game just assumes regardless of if it's true or not. And yes, you can make it to this point in the game without having caught 7 or more Pokemon. To speak personally, I used to play the game by catching new Pokemon once all on my current team evolved at least once. This meant that I would tend to only have 3 or 4 Pokemon by this point, as opposed to a full team.
Bill's first version of the storage system sucks, because if you fill up a box, which because there's no visual indicator is really hard to tell, you can't catch any more Pokemon, which isn't a huge deal unless you're talking about Safari Zone Pokemon or the legendaries.
Oh, come on, it's not that bad. You basically have enough boxes to almost fill the entire PC. It's not that short.
Okay, I looked it up, and you have over 240 spaces, which, yeah, I learned something new today. But the real problem is if you want to catch every Pokemon, ignoring the fact that's impossible by without trading and such, you have to change your box at the minimum 8 times, and that's being generous. This was fixed later on, but it's still a problem with this game in particular.
And again, that doesn't make it any less annoying to suddenly run out of space in one box and need to run to the nearest Pokemon Center to change what box your Pokemon will be sent to. Something that has happened to me multiple times while playing through the game, by the way. I have a vague memory of this happening to me in a cave, and I know for a fact it has happened to me in the Safari Zone. You know, the area Shari mentioned earlier, where the entire goal is just to catch Pokemon?
With your ability, you could become a top leader in Team Rocket. Buddy, I'm 10. You really think that putting a 10-year-old in possession of a fire-breathing lizard in any sort of position of power for a crime syndicate is a good idea? I wouldn't do that even if they didn't have the fire-breathing lizard.
He probably means when you're an old age. No, I get you might need an ID when you're 16 in order to get a job, but he probably means that an old age.
You say that, but you realize this is a series where you can catch legendary Pokemon and basically do anything you want, right? And considering the police in this game, yeah, I'm still surprised there isn't more crime, if I'm gonna be honest with you.
I'm sure most of you know this one. In Gen 1, we had what's commonly referred to as Smart AI, where our opponent will always, without fail, use a move with a type advantage. Charmeleon is a fire type, so he's weak to water. And while that can, for the most part, be a pain in the ass, the only water type move the Shelter knows is Withdraw, which can't hurt me. It doesn't matter that it knows other moves that can hurt me. It doesn't even matter that Shelter's defense stat can literally go no higher because of how many times it's already used Withdraw. It will always prioritize the move it thinks will be super effective.
Because Withdraw is a water type move, so of course it would be super effective, even though it doesn't really do damage.
Actually, said water-type move does not do super effective damage because it doesn't do damage at all, which is Shari's entire point.
I haven't seen a video miss the point so fucking hard since, I want to say Tony Sonic's SA1 video, which is concerning. You literally acknowledge he was right and even understand using Withdraw as a useless move after a set time. I'd be willing to let a lot of padding slide, but this one is the most egregious example because of how stupid this point is. I want to remind y'all, this video is 35 minutes long with slow talking and missing the point multiple times. I swear, if I counted all the stories out and took away all the stupid points, this video wouldn't be 10 minutes, and that's still giving you the benefit of the doubt.
No, seriously, I'm really not supposed to be able to do this. Why is this so easy?
What? Like, what in goodness? I'm not gonna yell that. I'm not gonna yell. Just 10 cents. 10 cents, you pity motherfucker.
And yet, you only give him 1 cent.
I'm not even sure what Zach is going for here. So, the first time Shari uses a glitch, he gets 1 sin, same with the second, which we cut out. However, the third time, he gets 10 sins. In theory, at least. In practice, it's actually just only 1. Like, what's the point of that sudden jump? Was it what he did? So skipping Brock and catching Mew is one thing, but getting a Pokemon to level 100 is an issue that's worthy of 10 sins. Something that would increase his sin count by roughly 50%, given we're only at slightly more than 20 sins.
I'm a cool guy. I've got a girlfriend.
Oh man, that makes you so cool. Please tell me more about it.
Sending characterization.
What characterization? You literally never meet this dude outside this instance. And even ignoring that, you're sending a joke. Like, is the concept of comedy just dead now? Do people just like to send people just because, oh, I don't find this funny? This is a problem from Tony, and it's a problem from you. And I don't understand for the life of me why that is.
Hiya, I'm a Pokemon. No, I'm not. Call me Bill. I'm a true blue Pokemaniac. Hey, what's with that skeptical look? I'm not joshing you. I screwed up an experiment and got combined with a Pokemon.
Okay, whoa, back up. Everything you said is completely believable given how bizarre this world is to begin with, but I feel like there's a missing element to this screw-up. You put the Pokemon in one of the teleporters, right? And then you stepped into the other teleporter, right? What was the experiment? What was the screw-up? Someone had to run the cell separation system the first time. Why do you need my help?
Remember Blue or Gary? Bill tried to do the experiment with him, maybe.
Okay, so what's stopping him from doing it again? No, seriously, I need an explanation, because you don't offer one, and when I looked up, the game doesn't either.
The Cascade Badge makes all Pokemon up to level 30 obey.
Way ahead of you, Misty. My level 100 obeys me just fine.
Oh, no. You're not getting off scot-free. 10 sins.
I can do anything.
I mean, at least this time he actually did give Shari 10 sins.
I mean, A for effort, but is he even gonna bother explaining why it's a sin? No? Alright. But if I had to take a very wild guess here, it's because he's wrong about how the badges work, which would be a legitimate argument, if not for his Gen 2 video, where he literally acknowledged he was wrong about that.
See, this is something I didn't have a lot of experience with in Pokemon because as a kid, I didn't have anyone to trade with me. Remember in Gen 1 when I would get certain badges and the gym leaders would tell me that all Pokemon up to a certain level would obey me because I had said badge? Well, the reason they would bring that up is because of the obedience mechanic in the Pokemon games. If you raise your Pokemon past a certain level without the necessary badge, they wouldn't always listen to your commands, which makes sense. They didn't want players to trade in a high-level Pokemon and breeze through the game.
And I know you watched it because you made this video and plan on making his Gen 2 video as well.
Mind you, both of us believe that you still have the right to point it out as it is something wrong with the video, but you don't. You've gotten on to Shari for making valid criticisms that have been corrected multiple times now. For that matter, I want to point out that Shari's criticism isn't even inaccurate, as what he's essentially saying is that the game is overhyping how useful a badge that makes Pokemon obey into level 30 actually would be, given his level 100 Pokemon does not disobey.
I also want to point out that badge only applies to trained Pokemon, not Pokemon in the wild, so... yeah, it makes even less sense than before.
Hey, I'll return the TM I stole. Wait, you trashed that poor family's house for a technical machine?
It's Team Rocket. They will steal anything that they can get their hands on, or something that they just saw they thought is valuable.
And Shari is basically saying either that's a bad way to look at the world, that this technical machine is not important, or that trashing a house is putting more effort than is worthwhile for this object, regardless of how important it might be.
Personally, I would let someone pull that shit, but maybe I'm just built different.
Thank you. I feel much better. You want to see my cut technique?
I don't want to see any technique of yours after having just given you a rub, you disgusting old man. Also, you're the goddamn captain of a ship! Why did you get into sailing if you're prone to seasickness?
For the record, I did not edit anything there. Zach just goes silent for a good half a minute and then Shari has another sin. Did you even watch this video before uploading it? What the fuck happened here?
Originally, I ignored this because there were bigger problems, but yeah, even my worst video didn't mess up this badly, and I have shit editing. I couldn't even do this by accident if I tried. If I had known better, this was just pumped out for Christmas Day, and if so, that's a pretty shitty gift.
I was gonna have a part here where I didn't say anything, and that was the joke. But that joke was shit. So instead I'm saying this.
I chair the Pokemon fan club. I have collected over 100 Pokemon. I'm very fussy when it comes to Pokemon. So, did you come visit to hear about my Pokemon? Good, then listen up. My favorite Rapidash. It's cute, lovely, smart, plus amazing. You think so? Oh yes, stunning, kindly, love it. Hug it when sleeping, warm and cuddly, spectacular, ravishing.
Oh, this dude has definitely dreamed about f***ing his Rapidash if he hasn't already done it.
I mean, it's not wrong. Plus, most countries, even America, actually allow you to reproduce with animals if they are female. And even according to the Bulbapedia in the Sinnoh region, Pokemon and humans have actually proposed to each other in marriage, since they didn't really know how to reproduce.
Childhood ruin notwithstanding, that's still not appropriate for a kid's game, which is why Charlie sinned it. Or what? Would you rather him be for bestiality? I guarantee if you hadn't sinned it like this, you would have sinned him for being gross with a kid's game. There's just no winning with you.
Also, I promise you no country on Earth allows humans to reproduce with members of a different species, because species are quite literally defined by the ability of one member to reproduce with the members of that species.
I wrote the story. Ah, so this is all your fault.
Yeah, and what's the sin? I get it. You're sinning the Pokemon games for having a kind of bad/mid story. But to be honest, the other stories are kind of good. Even though they're reused and remade, I honestly don't have a problem with them myself.
So, you're aware that he's joking, and yet you're gonna still sin him for that. Okay. And when did he say anything about any other game? He was talking about Gen 1 specifically, so I don't know where the hell you got that information.
Oh no! I dropped the lift key! I'm really glad I talked to that guy again after beating him, because why would you ever? I could have been stuck running around like a dumbass looking for the lift key.
Hey, what did I tell you of the first few parts of my sins? I told you this game will let you explore and try to talk to NPCs in order to find a way.
And like I said before, and I will continue to say until you get through your thick fucking skull, not a lot of NPCs have extra dialogue like this, but it's even worse here because at the very least early game, you can get away with that since it's very short and very quick. But here, it's pretty far in, you can easily forget where to go or what to do, since it's not made clear who has the goddamn key.
Also, I don't play many RPGs, so I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that talking to the same NPC and expecting to get different text is not a common feature.
It varies from game to game, but in the older generations, it's very rare. If memory hasn't failed me, they stopped doing this around Gen 4, but I could be wrong on that.
Excuse me, wait up please! No pedestrians are allowed on Cycling Road! I'm not supposed to be able to do this.
Chaos! 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 Swiss roll! Ah, nom, 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 nom. Oh, this is delicious!
Because I'm rich, I can give you anything! What about my father back? Well, I'm waiting.
Sorry, Charlie, but life does not really work like that. Sometimes life can give you the W, but sometimes it will always give you the L.
Fucking god. Dude, you're reading way into this. I'd forgive this if you didn't let me sin him for joking. I understand this isn't really a sin of the game, but you seem to forget he's allowed to make jokes. This completely ignores the fact he's outright stated that these sins aren't meant to be taken seriously. If I didn't know any better, it feels like you're just doing this on purpose just to piss me off. And considering the fandom I'm covering, I would not be surprised if this was deliberate.
Also, sometimes it will always. Anyway, the next 10 minutes are a massive ramble about the Elite Four, which goes nowhere. Zach does not even sin Shari for anything said during it, so I'm just fucking cutting it out.
Which only supports my claims from earlier, by the way.
Still can't believe my dragons lost to you, Red. You are now the Pokemon League champion. Or, you would have been, but you have one more challenge ahead. You have to face another trainer. His name is Blue. He beat the Elite Four before you. He's the real Pokemon League champion. Okay, wait, hold on. Doesn't that mean he would have had to fight a champion too? Were you the champion before Blue was? Well, that doesn't make any sense because that means there had to have been another member of the Elite Four, but you all have rooms that seem specifically designated to you all. Was there just not a champion before Blue got here?
It was actually Professor Oak. Think about it. In the game files, he's only the one trainer that you don't fight if you use hacks. And plus, he was considered in the email that he works for the Elite Four. So, yeah, he actually could be the Elite Four champion that he could have beat way before.
So, using hacks is okay, but glitches are the question. I can't with you. And from, you want to tackle this because I have a headache and I'm just done trying to explain this. If you excuse me for a moment, I need to go and rethink my life choices.
I'm just confused. I think what gets me about this point is that, once again, Zach is using outside sources to answer Shari's question. Here, it's something you could only possibly figure out through data mining the game, meaning this is something you'd have to go farther out of your way than normal to figure out.
Okay, I'm back. Final thoughts, this video is shit. Not only does he miss the point half the time, but when he does have a point, he either shows no evidence to back up his claim, panels back to the anime, which barely works within the context of using, or projects his own words before the video in question. Not liking the video is fine. Disagreeing with it is fine, but you fail into the same traps that Tony Sonic does, but worse. And look, I get it. You like Tony Sonic, for some unknown reason. I like Charlie 5, but you don't see me idolizing the dude. Also, there's just a little creepy obsession you have that I can't ignore. And the thing is, I'm not the only one who's called this out, by the way. Tony himself has called out your creepy behavior. Several people in my Discord have called out this creepy behavior. And God knows how many others who've done the same thing. And despite my tone, despite my anger, and my exaggerated behavior, I don't hate you. Trust me, if I hated you, this conversation wouldn't exist. But you do annoy me for a multitude of reasons. And if I were to go over them, we'd be here all day. But the main one is, you can't decide to think for yourself. You decide to just bomb rush Charlie for no realistic reason. And if you want to make videos on the dude, fine. But actually do your fucking job and research shit before just making shit up. Because, yeah, you're not doing as much damage as Tony Sonic is, but you're still doing damage, and that's a fucking problem. I cannot be friends with someone who does this kind of behavior. I can't be friends with someone who threatens suicide to themselves. I can't be friends with someone who tries to be attention-seeking. And yeah, I'm not one to talk, I do stupid shit all the time. But usually that's a result of hurting myself. Not everyone else around me. So, I'm just gonna put it out there. Think for yourself. Don't follow every single thing he does, because sometimes he can be wrong. And hundreds of commentaries that are coming out on him kind of prove that fact. Now, I don't think you're a bad person. I don't think you're evil or twisted. But you're very misguided, is the nicest way I can put it. So, I really suggest you take these words to heart and do some soul searching, as it were. Now, with that said, I want to thank Efron for collaborating with me. It's been a massive honor, and I'm going to leave him to do his final words. This is Destroyer Star 96, signing off.
You're welcome, and to everybody else, good night and good luck.